Jukecalls of her Jukecalla, basically stealing what's estimated to be over $100,000 worth of revenue without paying her developer team what they deserved, to all of the drama that has ensued as a result of Jukecalla's mismanagement with the developer team. Things got quite serious within this game's heart, which only makes it worse when a huge part of this game's community agrees that Jukecalls of Hell is by far what most would consider to be the greatest Roblox obbying game to ever be created for those who enjoy a skill-based gaming experience. So with that said, let's get straight to the point. This situation had started when the developer team of Jukecalls of Hell had made an entire document exposing Jukecalla's mismanagement of the entire developer team, along with many of the staff members also being involved within this document, which basically all concludes of Jukecalla being an incompetent owner for Jtoh due to her sporadic motivation and her inability to communicate her ideas to the rest of the team correctly, which resulted in a much more messy and complicated time scripting and building for every developer, along with Jukecalla having set her priorities wrong about the game's future direction, putting an emphasis on the story of the game rather than the actual platformer aspect of the game that all of the community is solely interested in, which is also part of Jukecalla holding a tendency to make executive decisions solely based on her own saying, resulting in most of the developers and staff having a limited opinion for the future of the game and the server for crucial matters, along with much more that's still part of this document and had to be managed. But those are actually some of the least concerning chapters of this entire situation. Either way though, all of this had overall resulted in the development of Jtoh updates ever since the Silent Abyss area has released, having been dysfunctional as the developer team has failed to meet deadlines and had to scrap countless ideas because of it, as a direct result of this poor management. Which also quickly afterwards resulted in most of the developer and staff team leaving on their own all at once in the span of a few days. And that's obviously not good for a game where most of the work is done by the developer team, because believe it or not, Jukecalla doesn't really do that much compared to the developer team that she has, which never gave her the right permission to always continue taking 70% of the entire game's income, while the entire game's developer team had no idea about this. And not only that, but Jukecalla has also attempted to previously fire members of the developer team in a privately hosted meeting without openly speaking to them and the staff team about the fact that they were going to be fired. And so you may wonder what could possibly be the reasons behind Jukecalla attempting to fire these said developers be? Well, literally a mass jumbled mess of grudges and pointless opinions that could easily be fixed with better management and a more open and honest communication. So that's why later on they went on and hosted a VR chat staff meeting. Yes, I'm not kidding, VR chat out of all places for whatever reason. And out of all the places that this meeting could have taken place in, such as Discord, they decided to do a VR chat meeting instead, which is quite funny because this 2-hour long meeting that was fully uploaded to YouTube by Bulkchain and will be linked in the description eventually turned into something quite bizarre but silly at the same time, which is Jukecalla cuddling with somebody in the middle of the meeting. And this became a huge meme in the Jtoh community as well after this had taken place, so that's quite interesting I guess. But anyways, quite a lot was talked about in this meeting about the entire management of the game, which you can go over yourself as it's not as important as what we're soon going to get into. And followed by the entirety of this document that features quite a lot more to it, which I will also link in the description, with each one of the developers also leaving their own opinion on the entire situation at the bottom before leaving the staff team. After a while, Jukecalla had actually followed up with a response document towards the entirety of this document, which you can also read yourself in the description, although most of it consists of her owning up to quite a lot of mistakes. However, this is where the situation takes an unexpected rollercoaster ton of events, because as of 2 months ago, word had started to spread around that Jukecalla secretly took out 1 million Robux from the game's revenue without paying the developers in order to help towards her sister's transgender voice surgery. And oh my god, of course the community had started blowing up on fire towards this. So I really need to mention to please not harass anybody involved in this situation. You're just going to end up embarrassing yourself, as there's no point in harassing anybody anybody in the situation. But anyways, the questionable moderation within this community had settled the situation down after a little while, and that's the end of that, except it obviously isn't, because why would it be, since it goes much further than this on a much more serious scale. I want you to imagine working for somebody as a Roblox developer, expecting to be paid fairly depending on how much content you add to the game, when instead you find out years later that you've been lied to for well over a year, if not way longer, and you were never paid anywhere near the amount you should have been paid, because that's exactly what happened with the developer team of Jukecalla of Hell. Since over the entire game's lifespan, based on this screenshot, assuming that Jukecalla isn't lying here, we can estimate that Jukecalla of Hell has probably generated anywhere between 50 to 100 million worth of Robux in revenue, which equals to anything between $100,000 to $350,000. And due to Jukecalla not really doing as much as some developers have done towards the future of this game, the best option for Jukecalla would have been to either make an honest and public agreement with each developer individually for how much percentage of the game's revenue they would be paid upon being hired, or if it wasn't for that, she could have agreed to pay each developer fairly based on how much content they add to the game, and how much the game earns every single month, and how much the developers would have contributed towards the game. Except 7 years later, ever since Jukecalla became the owner of Jukecalla of Hell, it has been discovered that Jukecalla had secretly ended up taking 70% of the total game's revenue throughout the entire lifespan of this game, which could be anything between $100,000 to as high as like $300,000 as the highest amount possible, just to end up stepping down as the owner of Jukecalla of Hell in the end of everything, and never having paid the developer team what they had truly deserved to be paid this entire time. And the only excuse from her own saying that I was able to find towards this allegation, however, is that all the way back in 2019, she had apparently said that she would be taking 70% of the game's revenue. However, back then, most things were entirely different than they were today, and this doesn't really make sense to say, especially considering that most of the developer team had gathered together way later than 2019. So that's what everything currently sits at. Juke had rightfully so decided to give up her ownership, and the game is now owned by Gamma and Aternavis, which the game's name has yet to be changed from Jukecalla of Hell. However, it is currently unknown what Jtoh will soon be called, and what direction this game will be heading towards now. So thanks for watching, and if you believe that YouTube should recommend more of my videos, please subscribe, as we're very close to 10,000 subscribers. I would really appreciate it, and every subscriber helps out a lot more than I could possibly explain. And don't forget to like the video. Thank you for watching, bye bye.